Ace is Wild, Paper and Powder, Episode 14, the finale.
So, the gang finally got McGregor, and they're bringing him in alive, too. Not sure that's how I would have handled it, but at least his reign of terror is finished.
Chance and Red Sky marched McGregor through the night, while Chase and the others returned home to their burnt abode. Doing her best, Belle helped Chase to mend his wound. Starting a campfire, she heated a knife to glowing red. Poking and prodding, she flung loose the hunk of lead, the blood oozing from the gaping wound. Tatsuo grew dizzy and lightheaded as she observed. She rose and moved to a site with less of a view. Taking powder from a gun casing, Belle poured it onto the gash. Then, striking a flint, fire erupted, cauterizing the bullet wound.
Unholy mother of carnage!
Belle couldn't help but snicker at the phrase. Chase wasn't amused.
You've done this before, have you?
Well, no.
I read it in a storybook.
Chase only shook his head now.
A storybook. Great. I'm gonna lose my arm.
You'll be fine, you big baby. Here.
Handing Chase his flask, Belle cringed at her handiwork, imagining the pain she must have inflicted. Then, making sure Tatsuo was out of range, she added,
At least she's trying to help.
and with a bit more of a grim tone, like a stern warning,
So, would you rather lose an arm or your life?
swallowing hard in one big swig, Chase drank the flask dry with no pause and a heavy sigh. Then, laying down on a blanket, he settled in by Belle for the night. Across the fire, Tatsuo and Jack talked until their eyes became too heavy. When they finally succumbed to sleep, Honey found herself being a pillow for the boy, but she didn't mind. Waking to the sound of the gate the next morning, Chase saw Chance kicking McGregor onto the property. Sitting his captive on the ground, they made him face the burnt home. Red Sky carried a look of accomplishment. He shared some words with Chase that no one else could hear before things got awkward. He prepared to depart, returning to his people back at the Comanche village, repenting for his previous sins. Chase's friends giggled, watching the giant, headdress-wearing Indian hug a cowboy. But before it was over, everyone, except McGregor, of course, had their turn as Red Sky said his goodbyes. The girls and Jack started sifting through burnt rubble looking for anything of value, as Chase and Chance prepared to bring in McGregor. Mounting the mares, Chase had but one question.
You ever gonna give that horse a proper name? Or maybe return it?
The horse has a name. It's Ned's.
Ned's? You named the horse after the neighbor you stole it from?
Borrowed. I borrowed the horse.
Borrowing implies you return the thing.
Chase said, shaking his head.
I'm getting around to it. Jesus, you nagged me more than Tat.
Laughing, Chase tugged hard on McGregor's leash. Nearly falling to the ground, McGregor grunted at the thought that these two were his captors. Talking, laughing with Chase grimacing in shoulder pain, they carried on. Belle bandaged up the gunshot wound with all the skill of a post-saloon fight specialist. But Chase felt the need to stop in at the barber to double-check her work. McGregor stayed quiet for the duration of the walk. Not that he didn't have anything to say, but because Tatsuo gagged him with a length of rope. Maybe to keep him from talking to Jack. But even now, neither Chase nor Chance saw a reason to uncork him. They only imagined the con job he'd try if he could, or the pure venom he may shout. As they rode into town, Chance noticed Chase wincing, holding his shoulder. A large patch of blood seeped from under his hand.
Chase, you're bleeding again. Were you gonna tell me?
It's nothing. I'll see Jameson when McGregor's behind bars.
Stopping in his tracks, Chance put his foot down.
You go see the doc right now. I can bring him in.
Chase's face caved, realizing Chance was probably right.
You sure you're gonna bring him in? You're not gonna kill him?
No, you were right. I don't want cold-blooded murder on my shoulders. And, McGregor or not, he's Jack's father. It's better this way.
McGregor shot his eyes in Chance's direction, with the realization he knew who the boy's father was. Nodding, Chance continued on as Chase headed towards the barber. Cheers and jeers ensued as McGregor was tugged through town. Stepping outside, Mr. Watts clapped, while Jameson smiled. Even the strung-out street patrons seemed happy to see him bound and gagged. Approaching the sheriff's office, Mr. Masters came out to meet Chance, who handed over McGregor. Reaching into his satchel, Chance pulled out a bundle of opium and the ledger. The sheriff looked at the book and nodded.
You're that man from the bank. Helped that Chinese lady. How do you come across all this? Some sort of ranger or something?
Chance laughed at the thought, being considered a lawman.
Chase and I just doing what's right. Nobody else was.
Chase McCoy? So the bank was a ruse, and by you two. Well, bygones and such. No harm.
Extending his hand, they shook on a job well done.
The law thanks you, son. I'll take it from here.
Proudly, Chance turned and walked away. Too bad he had not looked through the ledger himself. The sheriff's name was everywhere. After cutting loose McGregor, Mr. Masters drew on Chance, fully intending to shoot him in the back. Chance froze when he heard the hammer click,
I should have killed him.
was all that went through his mind. While sighing what he thought was his last breath, Chance heard a shot from down the road. Looking over, he saw the puff of powder smoke rising from a rifle dropping quickly from Chase's grip. The sheriff dropped dead as Chase fell to his own knees in pain. The blood oozed faster now. The little help he could muster was spent. Turning his gaze from the road, Chance saw McGregor picking up the sheriff's gun. Eyes squinting, the two men began circling in the street. No words were exchanged, just stares. Folding back their dusters, hands at their sides, it was anyone's game. Neither were quick draws. It was just a crooked mine baron versus an ex-card sharper. But in the end, sleight of hand gave the advantage. Leading by a split second, Chance shot McGregor square between the eyes. After looking around to make sure the coast was clear, Chance relieved the sheriff of his badge, claimed his pistol, and picked up the ledger. Mounting Ned's, he noted Jameson helping Chase into the shop. Realizing Chase was already in more capable hands, he felt a bigger need to see his family at that moment and headed back to the ranch. After getting some proper medical attention, Chase headed home as well, tired from the ordeal and loss of blood, but better than when he rode into town. Riding through the gate later that day, all bandaged up, he looked forward to seeing Belle. But first, Chance had some questions.
I thought you went to Jameson's.
Yeah, I didn't trust that sheriff. I had to be sure.
Chase's arm was in a sling, and he needed help getting off Nessie,
Nice you warned me.
Chance said, helping him down.
Figured you'd just kill him if and you didn't trust him either.
And that's different from what you just did?
Chance inquired, feeling a little miffed. Getting defensive, Chase raised his voice.
Look, I killed an armed man that was going to shoot my friend in the back. So yeah, it's a little different.
And that's all it took to quell the tension, as it was the first time Chase referred to Chance as a friend, in person and out loud. Standing over a burnt pile of rubble, the Misfit crew celebrated. They had beaten McGregor, and now there was nothing to do but look forward to the rest of their lives. When Red Sky returned to the Comanche Reserve, the tribe greeted him with honor. He spent the rest of his days hunting, fishing, and loving. Falling for one of the tribal women, they went on to raise 2 beautiful girls. Red Sky became a close confidant of Chief Nocona, and every once in a while the two would set out to practice politics, seeking to further relations between natives and settlers. If their travels ever happened by Chase and Friends Ranch, they'd stop in with fresh game for a good stew. Chase finally learned the true reason for Red Sky's name. It had nothing to do with him being a bloody savage, or as tall as the clouds as believed. Instead, he was born on a blood moon night, and the name fell to him from the chief. The two always remained loyal friends despite their previous opposite sides of the law. Red Sky showed respect and appreciation for the life Chase led as a bounty hunter, understanding the laws, and Chase continued his kindness toward the native ways. For Chance, what started as a joke became reality. Putting on the sheriff badge, approaching Tatsuo, he twirled the lawman's pistol, asking what she thought. Tatsuo liked the idea, asking him simply,
Why not?
the town needed a sheriff, and Chance needed honest work. So it came to be that an ex-card sharper now provided the law and order in Durnville. Needing a place to live, Chase granted Chance a small piece of land, and the two became neighbors, even getting together for a game of poker every once in a while. After Chance renegotiated terms with God, that is.
You know, no more gambling really meant no more cheating, right?
He did, however, never touch the drink again. Belle and Tatsuo remained close friends. Taking joint care of a garden, they also started raising chickens and goats. The ranching life suited them both well. Belle and Chase continued to butt heads over who called the shots, but they also fell deeply in love, getting married on a beautiful fall day. Wildflowers adorned the ranch when they walked down the aisle. Joining them in the service were Tatsuo and Chance, having only been previously justified by the peace. Tatsuo finally got the wedding service she always wanted. Her mother, June, smiled gleefully at seeing the life her daughter found, and was even more thrilled she found a new home herself under the same roof, far away from the saloon life. Happy at Chance's turn of the leaf, Tatsuo and Chance raised Jack as if McGregor never existed. Jack and Honey became inseparable. They even had their own adventures of sorts, before Honey got too gray in the whiskers. Nothing as grandeur as Papa and Uncle Chase, but there were plenty of run-ins with skunks and rabbit chases. Only once was there a close encounter with a bear. Jack took after his dad, becoming a deputy, and together they did their best to keep the peace in Durnville. As for Honey, she enjoyed a lot more treats from all her newfound friends. That dog was the pure envy of every other mutt in Durnville and for miles around. Wherever she went, a friendly pet and wonder were shared, along with a healthy supply of cookies and jerky. On that note, she never let Chance live down his horrible teasing of that night by the campfire when he won her from Chase. She always had his back and followed him around proud when he was nearby. However, whenever he spun about to check on her, he was met with a snarly growl. There was no way she'd let him know she warmed up to him. To her, it was a playful game and a warning to always feed her jerky. The town itself came together without haste. Townsfolk pitched in to repair the buildings and shine up all the sights. Even the saloon roared back to life again. However, in the corner sat an empty table with two never-empty waiting glasses, next to the name plaques, reading Abby and Johnny. Abby's grave rested on top of a small hill just outside of town. Belle joined Chase with fresh flowers from time to time. Johnny found his eternal slumber on his family's ranch. Opium was outlawed in Durnville, with Sweet Tooths returning to its original heyday splendor, providing a much more innocent vice for the town's good folk. Chase's shoulder injury healed best it could, but his bounty hunting days were over, even though he still caught himself eyeing the wanted posters whenever he walked by. After helping to rebuild the town, he took to running a table at the saloon. Belle and he spent their evenings watching the sunset from their rocking chairs with a glass of whiskey together. It wasn't an adventurous life, but he'd reached the point where he was happy to just grow old with someone he loved. Who knew that the quiet ranch life suited them more after the hustle and bustle of their formerly assorted pasts? Reckon all in all, everyone lived happily ever after. However, the game of crooks and cowboys is one as old as time, and the devil always has his puppets. That's why, at a crossroads in the desert, there sat a milky-eyed Chinese man, drinking tea from a porcelain pot. Waiting on the back of his wagon, illuminated by Chinese lanterns, a servant girl tended to his needs, while two armed guards watched the road. They didn't wait long, though, before catching the attention of a small-time crook, a no-named outlaw looking for his comeuppance. He didn't give a second thought to Mr. Chin's offer, knowing little about the true terms of the deal. Agreeing eagerly, the young man traded the promise of fame and fortune, wrapped in paper, for nothing less than his very soul.
Well, y'all, it's been quite the ride, hasn't it? Thanks for listening. I wonder what Touchstone Radio Dramas will do next.